Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of RotoStreet. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Been a little while, a couple weeks off after the final season has wrapped up, but that does not mean fantasy is over. In fact, if you're sick like me, you've probably been hammering some playoff best ball drafts or playoff drafting in general on RotoStreetJournal.com. I have a whole article about where and how to play different playoff fantasy formats to keep that addiction alive. And make sure you check it out. But far and away, my favorite way of playing fantasy football in the playoffs is Underdog Best Ball. You guys know we love Underdog Best Ball. We did a million streams, me and my man Mo over there, starting in like February, tried to stream nearly every single week. So you know we love this stuff. And I think the playoff best ball format, a completely different game, one where there's, I think, actually more money in terms of expected value up for grabs because there's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. Not that I'm this genius of it, but I've been doing it for a few years now. I had some pretty good success, better success, certainly in the playoffs than in regular fantasy. So I am really excited to draft right now. I've probably done about 40 to 50 of them already. Not all gauntlets, but certainly some little mittens and all that good stuff, the smaller entry things, which has got me a great taste of how to dominate these things. My man Mo, have you started to dabble yet? Or how are you in these playoff best ball streets?
Yeah, I have like 20 drafts under my belt. This is my first year doing it, actually. I would play just cash for the playoffs these last couple of years, like the head-to-heads on Underdog and whatnot. I mean, like you said, the tournament's been profitable for you. Those the head-to-head drafts have been very profitable for me. But the playoff best ball tournaments, I mean, it's where the I know ball people go to die. It's a lot of fun. Just seeing the people like, oh my God, Justin Jefferson's not going with the third overall pick. And obviously like the ADP, they're not going to be taking them there, but still, like, it's just the people who think they know ball and as opposed to optimizing their lineup for the format of the game and getting ready for or optimizing for the Super Bowl. It's where those people kind of bite the dust and you can make a little bit of extra money with the waning weeks of the NFL season.
Exactly. And we'll load up a draft right now. And as we do, I'm just going to rip through a few of my favorite tips. You kind of hinted at the biggest one is treating this thing. You know your main goal, and your main goal is a full roster for the Super Bowl. Just like we talked about in regular best ball, week 17 is all that matters. It's where all the money is. The Super Bowl is all that matters. In playoff best ball, and a full roster ends up meaning one quarterback, one running back, two receivers or tight ends. They are the same position, W/T, and then another flex. So 5 total players you want live by the time of the Super Bowl. Of course, more is even better, but ultimately you want a minimum of 5, and you want to be drafting with that in mind. So to make sure you do that, and we'll kind of watch this play out while we draft. We have the 4 pick here. So we'll kind of talk these tips as we go live. But the first big note is just team takes are well more ahead of your player takes. You have to correlate. You have to know what the paths are. There's definitely multiple paths to get to that full goal. But as we reverse engineer, the biggest thing is making sure you're correlating your teams. Whoever you take on the first pick, your second pick, you want to have fluid ranks based on those early anchors and that idea of stacking up those teams. If I go Derrick Henry right here at 4, who knows, maybe that's what we'll do. Now the Ravens are heavily circled on my board. Ultimately, you want to make sure you're bumping those guys up, and then who the Ravens play round 1. Okay, they're facing right off the top of my head, I'm blanking. Ravens are facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're not drafting them anyways. That's probably why they're off my mind. You don't really want Steelers on your team anyways, but you certainly wouldn't if you drafted Ravens. But then you even want to take it a step further. Okay, who's their round 2 opponents? Because you want to ultimately, this golden rule I call it, is get 10 people to the live conference championship. If you can somehow get 10 total players, you draft 10 total. If you get a full roster to that conference championship, you should be cooking with gas, especially if the majority of those players are the ones that are going to the Super Bowl by the end of things. So that's kind of the golden rule, and you want to know those paths. So you really have to study the playoff brackets and whatnot. In terms of team builds and roster constructions, I know I'm throwing a bunch out there, but a lot of people talk about, okay, 4-2-2-2 or 4-3-3. Those are very common builds, and they're good for a reason. You get your 4, let's say, again, the anchor, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown. I'm going Eagles. Devonta Smith falls to me. So I know I'm going to have about 4 Eagles. I might go 2 AFC teams, 3 AFC teams rather, and 2 from each of them. So that way I'm sprinkling on a full roster. I've got my 4. I'm banking on the Eagles making the Super Bowl. And now I've made 3 bets as to who might be joining them on the other side, or if you feel more confident or the draft is just flowing that way, where you should ultimately load up on just 2 teams, 5-5 or 6-4. I don't like to lock myself into one, but the biggest thing is, again, making sure you have that path to multiple players on multiple teams. I have just a couple other quick tips and common mistakes people will make. But ultimately, we want to make our pick, and then I want to give you a chance to respond, Mo. Here we are. So we do have the shot at Jalen Hurts, or we could try to go after a Lions thing here, go Gibbs, Brown, and then hope Goff comes back to us. What do you think? You want to just go for the anchor QB? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy Hurts here.
Okay, yeah, I like Hurts a lot here too. I mean, God forbid Saquon ever made it back to us. That would be unbelievable. I have one Hurts and Saquon team. I actually took Saquon first, and then Hurts came back to me in the gauntlet too. So that one is juicy. But yeah, so we'll kind of talk through some of these tips again with the Eagles lens. So now Eagles round 1 opponent is the Packers. We won't be drafting any Packers. Round 2 opponent could be the Bucks if the Bucks win. But ultimately, I think the Bucks could get upset. So, okay, so this is an interesting one where A.J. Brown goes, Saquon goes. I don't love going Devonta Smith there. I don't hate getting Derrick Henry. I'm not going to lie.
I think you go Derrick Henry and then play for Devonta Smith with our next pick.
I would agree with that too. And I know this guy's probably pissed. I think he have no, he had Goff anyway. So
yeah.
And Goff was gone. So that Lions one wouldn't have made any sense either there. So yeah, if you get an Eagles-Ravens Super Bowl, now you have an anchor running back, anchor quarterback. I absolutely love that. But again, so playing through that lens of, okay, so they might in round 2, the 3 seed is the Bucks. I won't have any Bucks. There is almost no world they'll face the Rams, so I could go for them. There's certainly no world they could ever face the a team I've been loving to pair with the Eagles is the 6 seed Washington Commanders. I love that first game to help explode the Tampa Bay Commanders. I think Commanders could certainly upset them. And then you got 2 games of Jaden Daniels. You don't really need Jaden Daniels, but you could take some of those players and correlate it that way. And then, of course, the AFC, now that we've got Derrick Henry, you're starting to think, okay, so the Bills, as much as I love that team in the playoffs, their round 2 opponent, I don't want those 2 teams correlating. So just kind of going through, again, some of those mindsets. In terms of the biggest mistakes and just a few other notes that I had jotted down here, and I like to study from Justin Herzig and a bunch of those guys. One of them being, again, just not playing for the Super Bowl, trying to make sure you get out of round 1 is important. And the converse of that is like, yeah, it is really all that matters is the Super Bowl, but you also still do need to advance. And so you don't want to overdo that. I know we're going to pick just about now. But ultimately, you can overdo that in, let's say you have 7 combination of Lions and Chiefs. Well, you're not going to get through it. Devonta Smith falls to us. That's beautiful. That makes this nice and easy. I like the start of this one quite a bit here. And yeah, so you want to obviously have that delicate balance. Like if you do start with a bunch of Lions, just knowing that you can only have a combined 5 Lions and Chiefs, or otherwise you won't have a full roster in round 1. I've made that mistake and learned the hard way where I'm like, oh man, I got Sam Laporta on this Lions team after I already had 5 of them. Let's get David Montgomery. It's like, well, I actually cannot have a full roster. Every now and again, you'll have like Mike Evans go for 30 and you somehow still get through, but you really want to be playing for a full roster in round 1. And of course, still prioritizing that Super Bowl there as well. And then, yeah, I'm trying to think of any other mistakes. Not understanding your format. This is one where 2 teams advance, which is why you can play a little bit more into the Lions. And I should do the draft view of that. I'm trying to remember how to do that. So we got Zay Flowers there for us. If we want to keep going with them, the Ravens.
Yeah. I think we can go with Zay here to keep going with the Ravens, and we're not playing any
Zay
of the
over Bateman though, with him banged up and not practicing.
That's what I was gonna say. He didn't practice today, but I think we can afford it because we're not going with any bye teams. But I'm fine with Bateman.
I like Bateman more, honestly. He blew up.
Yeah.
And I bet you Zay makes it back to us anyways, and we can sneak him in there too and kind of have them both.
Yeah, we'll have to dodge the Lamar drafter, but I think it's possible given that in the end we don't get it anyways. But I was gonna say I think it's possible given the news that he didn't practice today, and all these badges are certainly plugged into the practice reports. But it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true. He would have to get past Lamar, so maybe not. But yeah, what I was getting as round 1 versus if only one person advances, that's what DraftKings does. It's a lot harder to sneak through those Lions and Chiefs. Doesn't mean it can't be done, and you'd be wicked unique if you can pull it off. But that's where you might like the type of roster we're building right now, the 2 seeds, the 3 seeds, loading up on these quality teams with high upside players that you're getting the first round for. Great for us, even though it's not quite as necessary when 2 advance. Still very nice to have. All right. Am I missing it where the screen is to bring it to like a full draft board? Maybe you can't do. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. It's not quite as full of a draft board as we're used to in the summer there. But yeah, Mo, we're about to pick anyways. I know that was a rapid fire. I probably should have just done that before we fired up the draft. All right. Let's think, though, too. So the Eagles can't face the Rams, and Puka's fallen here. And I don't hate that, especially if we could sneak in Kyron. That's a team I'm really going after. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So, yeah, that's a combo of team that almost is guaranteed to not meet up there. So maybe Kyron makes it back to us, and I love that. And if he doesn't, like I was saying, I don't even hate getting Terry McLaurin. I like doing that a bit more, though, when I start with Eagles, but I don't have Jalen Hurts, and maybe it's an Eagles and Chiefs, like I have Mahomes and Saquon, and you go with them. That's an interesting build there, too. Unfortunately, Kyron does go. So who are we thinking here, Mo?
Well, so we don't have anyone really in ADP range for the Ravens or the Eagles. So I don't mind the Terry pick and just banking on that game exploding, because it is pretty appealing when it comes to the first round matchups.
Yeah, against Tampa Bay, one of the worst teams against wide receivers as well. I'm game for that. The one move I often like to make in this range when I have Ravens, so there's 2 teams like. We can maybe just get some general playoff talk kind of going as we're talking now here. I think the Chargers are sneaky live to go on a run. I know they'd have to, even if they win. I think a lot of people have them beating the Texans. I don't think I'm bold in that. It wouldn't stun me if they beat the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs have looked good all year. I know they always squeak by. I know Mahomes is Mahomes in the playoffs, but I think there's a real shot that the Chargers could pull that one off, and then suddenly got an AFC championship of the Harbaugh brothers. Something about that feels right. And so I've been really targeting like Ladd McConkey right there. And then you still got a RB1 all the playoffs they last with J.K. Dobbins. Herbert goes real late. So both LA teams, I always like Stafford. I think he's always live in the playoffs. But I do really, really like the Chargers, which I'd love to get your take on in a sec before we make our pick. We'll do a couple because I haven't really let you talk at all. I've been
I've been doing a lot of the Chargers with Jared Goff. When I know I'm going to need a second quarterback to stay live in that first round. And I agree. I mean, I really do think that you can go ahead and make this pick here. I'll just keep on rolling. I really do think that second
round. You like
Cooper
Kupp, by the way, though? Or
I think that's fine.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. I know we can't go because we have Eagles.
No, yeah, it's an unfortunate.
I am tempted to toss in Daniels, even though we have Hurts. I know we want to, lay in the bed we made. I'll go Cooper Kupp, but if Daniels comes back to us, I don't know. I won't throw it out there that I'd be tempted to go him just for the sake of. I know I'm cutting you off again. I'm sorry, dude.
No worries.
But there's a lot of times where Hurts, let's say he just sucks in round 1. Eagles get a win, but against the Packers, it's hard fought. And Daniels gets a 35-pointer. A lot of Hurts teams get knocked out, and then suddenly, Hurts blows up in round 2 and the rest of the playoffs, but he's not on very few rosters because they sucked in round 1. So I get it. You often do want to just play the bed you made. You don't go pivoting off the Eagles. Let's plan like Hurts is the one to get us there. But there have been times where I've had, even Josh Allen had a dud in round 1, but I thought he might have a bye, so I had Baker Mayfield, and suddenly, boom, I got through with that team when. That always happens too. But you were getting at. It's so tough to have a call. We'll talk a little bit more maybe when the draft ends, and then we'll fire up another draft for it. You were saying you like to stack up the Chargers with the Lions, and then we kind of got pivoted off here.
Yeah. So I really do think it's certainly feasible that the Chargers make it through to the AFC Championship game. I mean, you think about. So they'll almost certainly play the Chiefs. Mentally, I'm locked into Bills and Ravens playing in the divisional round. I mean, obviously there's a world where either the Broncos or the Steelers win. It's the NFL. Teams can win miraculous football games, but mentally, I'm basically boxing out the Steelers and the Broncos, especially on Underdog where 2 teams advance. On DraftKings, I'll draft them here and there just because like you need that offensive firepower. You're heavily relying on one of the bye week teams, and you need someone to go off to get through in round 1 for that 1 of 6 advance rate. But on Underdog, I'm not really drafting either of those teams. But I do think the Chargers, it's very feasible. Against the Chiefs, that's probably a 4-point spread. You're not looking at ridiculous implied odds that they make the conference championship, assuming they beat the Texans in round 1. So I have paired them pretty regularly with the Lions when I know I need some action in the first round and the wild card rounds.
Yeah, I think it's a great plan. And like you said, yeah, the spread probably wouldn't be that crazy. You have the whole narrative, and I don't even know if there's any validity to it of like, do you beat a team 3 times in a season? It's tough to do. I think it's actually been proven that that's not true and that it happens more often than it doesn't. But even still, I think there's a real chance that they could go at least to the conference championship. The Chiefs get knocked off. I always get killed by betting against the Chiefs. But I don't know. Wouldn't stun me at all. I did end up pulling the trigger on Daniels. I mean, we have Terry. If they go to even 2 games and it hurts, stinks for 2 games, but suddenly the Eagles are still there. Imagine those teams met in the conference championship. But even if not, Daniels could propel our Eagles there if Hurts has a dud. I know it's a little bit of a reach and it's not typically what you do, but I think Daniels is going to move a lot of teams on, even if he gets knocked out. And to have him plus like a great landing pad here. The only other thing I would want to do with this team, and I'm hoping he follows to us, is Kenny Gainwell, just to give us at least one more Eagle. We have to have Kenny Gainwell here. It's always great to have your quarterback and the running back. I know in typical DFS and best ball, it's seen as negative correlation, but here it's actually very, very positive to know you're getting all the touchdowns of a team. So we have, it's not Saquon, but if something ever happened to Saquon, or we see it all the time where a backup running back rips a 60-yard screen, whatever it might be, he could make that lineup for us. But we're really banking on a Eagles and Ravens Super Bowl. But with the Jane Daniels thing, we gave ourselves an out that like we'd have a live team with Daniels, Derrick Henry, Bateman, McLaurin, and Likely. Is that going to ship 200K? Probably not. Very thin range of outcomes. Very thin. I bet you, though, there's not a ton of Commanders, Ravens, like people are targeted. I don't think it's a heavily targeted Super Bowl matchup either. So I don't think we're winning it with that. We would really want the Eagles side of this, Eagles, Ravens. But hey, I like the squad. So we'll pull up the draft board here. We can kind of review it. And maybe that'll be a more easy way to review some of my tips without us like flying through things. So as you can see, anchor quarterbacks, pretty much where it goes here. I don't always agree with that. I what B Buckets did, a common move I do, and this is one of my other tips is, can you kind of direct other opponents' behavior? And typically you can't. Like it's a whirlwind, and you think you're going to do a smart move, and then your guy gets sniped that you wanted. But what I've often done is, an example up here, is I'll go Jahmyr Gibbs. St. Brown will come back to me. And at that point, it's usually at the 4 or 5 spot. I'm pulling something like that off. But this team will already have Jalen Hurts. This team has Lamar. This team has Josh. And so I know that I have a good shot of Jared Goff, coming back 5 picks below ADP, where I already have all those Lions. And then, like you said, pivoting from there to the Chargers. I like a Chargers and a Tampa Bay kind of pairing there, because we know Tampa Bay and the Lions wouldn't be able to meet until the conference championship. Will Tampa Bay actually make it there? Probably not, but you've got a very condensed offense that if they are doing anything, it's going to be huge numbers. So that's like an example of like dictating player behavior. In terms of common mistakes, like I don't see a ton here. A lot of well-stacked teams, well-balanced teams. I know it was kind of a whirlwind, Mo, when we started. Was there any tips, again, to summarize, like stacking for you want to get to the Super Bowl, to reverse engineer that? Your goal is ideally 10 live for the championship weekend. whether that's a 4-2-2-2, a 4-3-3, a 3-3-3-2, whatever it might be. That you want to tell yourself a story where all these players could be going on that weekend. And then again, so I guess the one area we didn't do that, like there's guarantee that we wouldn't have 10 players is, actually there's no way that we could have 3 teams alive. So I'm trying to think of where that would happen, like Puka and then the Commanders and then the Eagles. So that would end up being Puka facing the Eagles, right? Because then the Commanders would be facing the Lions. So we only had him on one player there on that. So again, it's never going to be. It's not always perfect that you're going to get. Okay, I could definitely have 10 live teams. Those are the ones that always feel the best, though. And then always being fluid to once you have your rankings. Was there anything else though that you would recommend before we fire up another one?
Yeah, my only thing, and you've touched on it. It's just be grossly familiar with the NFL playoff bracket and how it works and potential matchups. You don't want it. So like, let's say you're going with the Chiefs on the AFC side of the ball, and you're stacking up the Chiefs. You don't want to, and this is like in terms of ADP, it's probably not super realistic, but you don't want to then go on the NFC side of the ball, two of your 2 teams being the Packers and the Eagles. Because they play each other in the first round, you're immediately axing some of your outs there. So being cognizant of who's playing in what round, and then just understanding what's even feasible in the coming rounds. So the 2 seed and the 3 seed can't play in the conference championship. Like there's 0 outcome where the 2 and the 3 seed ever play in the conference championship. And that's super important on the AFC side of things because people love to stack both the Ravens and the Bills, but you're never going to get them both in the conference championship. And then like what we were doing with the Commanders and the Eagles, they will never play in the divisional. There's no outcome. They're obviously not playing in the wild card round, and there's no outcome where they play in the divisional. So we're not getting that double team stack eliminated until the conference championship. So kind of just understanding what potential matchups there are and how the bracket can flow throughout the 3 weeks before the Super Bowl. So just I said it at the beginning of the spiel, just be grossly familiar with how this tournament is going to play out, and as always, it's like kind of a painting the picture type of deal.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a site like Print My Bracket or something like that where I've just like, you can even, when I first started doing these drafts, like, okay, I have a Raven, and I might like fill in a bracket. Okay, Ravens go to the Super Bowl. What's that path look like based on who else I think is going to win around them? And you fill in a few scenarios, you tell yourself the stories, and you start to see like what teams pair better with others. You know, the 1 seeds and the 3 seeds pair very well together. 2s and anywhere from 4 and below typically pair well because that lower seed is going to be facing the 1 seed. And you start to get a sense of how that will look. We got about 200 a here. We kind of just did this unannounced. Great to see. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up, the heart button if you're on Twitter, the thumbs up on YouTube, any likes, shares, retweets. Of course, if you guys have any questions or comments, we're happy to answer them. But otherwise, we'll fire up a draft. We'll chat some more playoff ball and give some takes through the rest of this draft. We're drafting from the 6 hole here. So we'll get to see a draft from the bottom. And what do you do? Which is always a tricky spot because usually the best quarterbacks are gone at that point. So how do you pivot around there? I don't mind, Vikings, are they dead? But it might be a good time to hear some of your playoff takes. So I gave you that. I think the Chargers are going to surprise and potentially go all the way to the championship, if not the Super Bowl weekend with a big upset of the Chiefs. Probably dead wrong because, again, betting against Mahomes in the playoffs is stupid. But ultimately, do you have any like playoff team takes or what are you kind of expecting? Anything wild out there?
I have a question first, and it's not general playoff. It pertains to this game. I think Lamar Jackson should be the 101, and I understand why he's not, because it's harder to stack. You're never getting Derrick Henry it's very hard to get Derrick Henry there.
That happened a couple of times.
It's very hard to get Derrick Henry at the 2-3 turn, and there's just fewer pieces in general to stack, but the same implied odds to make the Super Bowl better for the Ravens. Lamar, better fantasy producer this season. Like, I get it, but like I really, it's hard for me not to take Jackson at the 101. And the only reason I take Allen is because of the fact that I just want to have a spread out portfolio. And here we are. So we're kind of boxed out at quarterback. We're going to have to do probably something with Sam Darnold here. Do you like Jefferson and Henry here?
That's exactly what I was going to do. Yep.
Yeah.
I like Jefferson because, I mean, I obviously I would have loved a Gibbs and St. Brown. But then it's like, okay, so then we would have really had to go all in on that Chargers prediction, which I've done, and it's not bad. Like I've had a couple teams come out really solid.
Not bad.
I'm taking on the Chargers, and I play out a few scenarios from the AFC or the NFC rather. If you have your 4 Chargers, then 2-2-2. I've had a few of those, but that's a pretty thin bet. Again, I know I'm going bold there. Yeah, so good question though in terms of so we went Jefferson and Henry. And I've seen that you can really push. It seems like a room that knows what they're doing. You can push Darnold to like 50s now. But not that we have to. We'll see if there's a point where like the risk isn't worth it. But we'll be looking at Aaron Jones and, sometimes Andrews doesn't typically make it back this far. Now that Zay Flowers has been hurt, he was the one going all the time. But you can see Zay Flowers, wow, he's really dropped. He's like, and deservedly so. But Addison will likely be there. So you were asking Lamar versus Josh Allen, and why is Lamar the second one?
Like I get it. It's hard. It's just hard not to click Lamar there, but I get it. Like
you totally could. I think the slight leaning to Buffalo there is they're pretty equal fantasy producers on we're talking a 3-week sample here. And when Josh Allen is pushed, he's just as good, if not better, than Lamar. How many times we see 50 points in a 44-point day in back-to-back weeks when they were pushed by the Rams and then the Lions there? So I think the ceilings are very comparable. So then it is a matter of like, who do you think is going to actually win? And I look at it, I say, okay, they're in Buffalo. That's a big edge to Buffalo. And whether it's fair or not, Lamar has just crapped himself every single playoffs, And so maybe this is the year he gets the bugaboo off, but not that Josh Allen has ever made the Super Bowl himself either. So I get it. Ultimately, you're running into the Mahomes buzzsaw, and neither of these guys are probably going to end up mattering, and you should have gone Chiefs the whole time. But I do think Allen at home against Lamar just feels better given the history of both these guys. And I do like nobody wants Bills either. So you can get Shakir 10 picks below ADP if you don't force him in at 13. And then Cooper's fallen to 40. And then Coleman, you can just get like 5 Bills and not have to pay any prices. So you can do some really fun. I guess the other thing too is like once you do that, I guess we're on the clock. So we should check our picks here. So Aaron Jones is there. I think that's a no-brainer because we're going to have Darnold, and that's nice to have the quarterback. Running back, and Addison's there. So
I was going to say, let's just lock up the Minnesota offense.
You want to just go pure Minnesota over Zay, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
And Bateman's there too, but I like going Addison. We're already going all in on this, and that's a fun game too. The round 1 Rams and Vikings,
100%
shootout style game. They could certainly beat the Rams. I like the Rams too, but yeah, I think people. Darnold, wait till you see how far he's going to fall if we push it, because that one game, and it's a fair one, he looked horrible against the Lions. Is that the true Sam Darnold? Maybe. But I think people are overreacting to that. And like all year, Darnold was 25 fantasy points a week. We're going in on an offense, a 14-team winning team. This is just I think the Vikings are a very good play right now. I'm getting a lot of Vikings in these drafts.
Even if like Sam Darnold is bad, or like, and I don't think that, but like if you're just like getting more nervous about Sam Darnold, like this is a good football team. Like the name of the game is picking the teams that stay alive for the longest. Like even if like he isn't just the most high-end fantasy producer, it's a team that is a good bet to stay alive for a long time, just simply because of the quality of the football team as a whole. But I had a question for you. How do you feel about Sean McVay basically voluntarily signing up for a date with either the Lions or the Vikings, playing Jimmy Garoppolo against the Seahawks last weekend?
I know. I don't know how I feel, but I mean, I love Sean McVay. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the NFL. By the way, you can see like that's what I meant with Shakir too. Sometimes you see him go at 13, but I almost never see if somebody doesn't take him, he almost always falls back to Josh Allen team. But yeah, like just giving it up to them, like not playing any starters. I understand the injury risk this time of the year, but when you have a shot to be facing, the Commanders versus the Vikings, I would be playing to avoid that. And you never know how it plays out, but when you're the 3 seed, you're avoiding whoever loses that game, the NFC North monster. I don't get it. I'm with you. I question it for sure. Like I don't know. He must have full faith that these guys are great for the playoffs, and he always is. I trust McVay in the playoffs. I trust his guys, but yeah, I don't know. I thought that was very questionable for sure.
Suspect. So here, everyone on the Ravens has been gobbled up, other than like Nelson Aguilar and Likely here. So do we want to start building out a second AFC team here?
I do, and I'm sad to see Ladd go. That was the one I was going to be very excited to go in after here. We could just start going. How about Bills face them, though? We could toss in a couple Raiders here. I mean, I'm just going to take Darnold just so nothing weird happens, and it'll buy us some time here. So, yeah, I think do we go Texans?
That's what I was thinking.
Like,
I was thinking Texans.
I don't love it, but it's the only path that seems to make sense, unless you wanted to go Terry McLaurin and just.
I think we have to go with a second AFC team here.
Probably. I know. I'm pissed Ladd went. That's exactly
Ladd would have been ideal, but I do think we go Texans here.
All righty, I'll star Nico. And then we could, Mixon goes for free at this point.
Wait, we can get Xavier Hutchinson.
Deontay Johnson, perhaps.
yeah. Sneak him in the 10th round.
Yeah. We'll see about Nico. Like I said, I do not like the Texans at all, but they were going. I mean, Nico Collins was going like top 15 when these tournaments opened. So,
it's because everyone and their mother who makes content was just calling them awful picks, and they rightfully so. The Texans are just a bad football team. Like, it's so brutal playing the AFC outside of the big three. It's just a nightmare. I mean, like, I guess you can like convince yourself like we have a little bit of the Chargers, but really like just trying to do anything with the AFC outside of the Ravens, Chiefs, or Bills, it just hurts.
It really does.
Yeah, you just can't feel happy about it at all.
And that's why it's a great point too. And you think about the NFC, and you could tell me the Packers make the Super Bowl as a 7 seed, and I don't. It's not likely, but if it happened, I would not be all that stunned.
Exactly.
And those games are just like, they're fun. Every single team has fun offenses. I just feel like there's a ton of shootouts brewing over there. That's why I really do love. We've unfortunately had 2 straight like bottom of the draft picks. I love being at the top and being able to start with either Josh or Lamar, and then kind of build in like the little AFC like 2-fers or 3-fers around an AFC anchor like those two. Those have been some of my favorite builds. And I do like it's becoming less and less likely because Mahomes is starting to creep up. There was a time where you could kind of do like Saquon at 4 or 5, and then Mahomes would be there in round 2. And I do like that build, an Eagles and Chiefs.
That's
one,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, you mix in the Commanders with them to kind of get your Chiefs through, and boom, you're off to the races. And I think the Commanders are going to be the perfect get teams through, and the Bucs, whichever one you want to go with. The Bucs wouldn't be as good with the Eagles one because, again, you're thinking about, all right, when these teams meet up, they'd meet up in the next round. So then the Commanders make a little more sense there too. That's been one of my I want more of those. That's like kind of what I've written down is like more Eagles, Chiefs, and Commanders builds. I don't have enough of those. I have a lot of Lions, Rams, and Chargers. That kind of became when I thought the Rams were going to be the 3 seed, that kind of became it. So now it should be Bucks and Lions and Chargers would be a great build too. All right, so we are back on the clock here.
Do you want to grab Hawkinson here?
Yes, I do. That's a great call. Not Kincaid. Hold on, shit.
And someone grabbed Mixon, which is unfortunate.
Did they? Damn. Why the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get Hawkinson here. I don't necessarily want Justice Hill because we have Derrick Henry. I'll take Likely here.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think he's getting pretty slept on, especially if Zay Flowers misses the first game.
Yeah,
we should Likely have 23-point day the first week of the season. Like
they're gonna have 80% of snaps in 12 personnel. who is earning targets ahead of him is like Rashad Bateman. Breakout year. I'll give it to him. Still, like, what? I think it was like 0.18 targets per out run. Like, not a certified target earner. Likely, definitely earning targets ahead of Nelson Aguilar and Tylan Wallace. So, yeah, I like the pick there, especially considering we already have Derrick Henry. And we're loaded up with the Vikings. So we're going to be building a live Super Bowl roster, basically no matter what, just with the Vikings alone.
Yep.
So, and then it's not ideal not having Mixon on this roster, but we've got enough pieces sprinkled throughout that we can paint a reasonable picture come Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, and ultimately too, it's like I get once you click Nico Collins, you've kind of made your bed. I just have zero faith in the Texans. Maybe Nico goes off for 30 and helps this team move on. Although when you have Jefferson, you have Addison, you have plenty of firepower already. Yep. And then you look at Henry and Aaron Jones. Like we probably don't really want Mixon to be making our lineup. Like hopefully those two are more than enough at that point.
I would agree.
So. Yeah, I think in terms of wrapping this one up, we've done a ton of Ravens and a ton of Vikings. And honestly, I've had a few teams where like those are the only teams I draft. I know we have Nico mixed in here, but I like at this point Jalen Naylor to keep going with Darnold. And I've been tossing in late Aguilar. I know it's disgusting, but this is one. So this actually brings up a good talking point that I meant to bring up earlier for those of you that are still tuned in. Is when you get to these last picks, it comes down to that, like, do I force in a Jaden Reed here who we've seen him blow up and he could help me get through. And I get that argument. Last year, it was Evans, and then Evans ended up playing a couple games, and that was great. Puka Nacua last year got 30 and he was knocked out, but got you through. So I'll make these picks. But when you're thinking of the actual plus EV things, once those guys are burned away, your team expectation drops considerably each player that drops off. And you think of last year where the nuts was 49ers, a bye week team, and who was in the do you know who was in the Super Bowl that ended up like being an absolute like league winner for playoff best ball?
Was it Juwan Jennings, right?
It was Juwan Jennings, yeah. Now it's like, okay, this guy's a stud. Like we've seen him play for a while, but last year he was going round 10. He'd be like a Jalen Naylor right now. Yeah. And I remember sitting there, and this was like when I'm still trying to learn the game, like, am I really going to pass up Puka Nacua for Juwan Jennings? But if you did and you made the Super Bowl with your 49ers and you got him in as your last piece, like he was crucial. He was key. Yeah. And so that's where it's like an Aguilar. If he opens up the scoring with like an 80-yard touchdown and we get a Vikings and Ravens Super Bowl, well, it's kind of a popular build. We're not going to be that unique. We're also not going to have Lamar. So it's like, oh man, like, yeah, we have Henry, and we hope Henry just destroys Lamar in that one. But you're going to need like a Juwan Jennings. You're going to need if Lamar throws a rope, the fact that if it goes to Aguilar, like suddenly that kind of cancels that out for us. If we get a unique build like this, how do you make your Vikings and your Ravens unique? Yeah, you toss in a few of those guys that are often not getting drafted at all. The Juwan Jennings of this year, I could see that being Aguilar. I could see that being Jalen Naylor in a Super Bowl. For the Lions, Tim Patrick, maybe him, if that's the build you're going with. I'm trying to think for the Chiefs, and the Eagles too. Those are the teams I'm really struggling to find one for. Do you want to fire up one more too before we?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
The point I was going to make as well is like you don't even like necessarily need the guy who explodes for like multiple touchdowns and 100 yards. Like, True. Just given the limited player pool, like when there's only two teams to pick from, like it's very realistic that a guy that scores 7 or 8 points like can hit a winning lineup. And so like if you just get the like Andy Reid, I can't remember what is it, 2 or 3 years ago, like Sky Moore had that random touchdown that made everyone think he was going to be Patrick Mahomes' next wide receiver one. Like there's an outcome where just like a random like schemed up play that turns into a touchdown for a guy in the red zone. Like that's enough for him to hit your lineup. Yeah, exactly. Like it like if they score 8 points on a fluky like design gadget play, like that could be enough. And like that's like you don't need to just find the guy who is going to score, like the random guy who's going to explode for a 30 ball. You need like just finding the random guy who's going to hit your lineup is enough as well.
Yeah. Who do you think that could be? So we outlined a few of them. We got Naylor if you're going Vikings, Tim Patrick if you're going Lions. Who could that be for the Chiefs and the Eagles? That's where I'm really struggling to find them. Aguilar for the Ravens. You can tell yourself that story. Is it Justin Watson? Like, who would that guy be?
Is Juju healthy?
I mean, maybe it's Juju. I don't know.
Yeah.
He didn't play much last week, and that kind of shows you where he's on, like, in good standing with the team.
Yeah, I haven't looked at any of the week 18. Well, no, week 17 utilization. I haven't looked at that for the Chiefs. Week 18 you can throw out the window. Yeah, for the Chiefs, it's really messy.
Yeah.
Like, because there's like 7 names you could convince yourself of, and for the Eagles, I think it's pretty just clearly Kenneth Gainwell. You're really just hoping for, like, he just rips a screen. Like, he's gonna get 3 to 5 carries and 3 targets, and you just hope he house calls one of those screens, or just check downs. I think that's pretty clear. It's so incredibly difficult for me to put my eggs in Jahan Dotson's basket. But that's another name that comes to mind there.
I know.
Do we want to do a Mahomes thing here?
Yeah, I was hoping Barkley would be the one to fall. I think we do probably. Yeah, because Gibbs is gone, so we're not going to get. I was hoping for a wraparound. I think we have to do Mahomes, but who do we want to pair him with is the question.
The Minnesota pieces will be the most accessible, but I don't really mind doing either St. Brown or AJ Brown.
Yeah,
I like AJ Brown here.
The only thing I'm thinking though is for running back, like the Chiefs running backs suck. We just did a Vikings thing, so if you want to get different, that's fine. But or do we go with just a one seed, and then try to let's do that. Let's try to see what you would do if you're going for the 1 seeds. Like,
all right,
it's
fun. I can tell you it's fun.
And this is a good reminder. This again testing out some strategies here. We can only draft now a max of 3 more combined Chiefs and Lions. So we got to be smart about which ones we take.
And then we have to hit the nuts in round 1.
And we have to hit the nuts. And I do think that's where for this one, I'm going to love if we can pull off Mike Evans, Bucky Irving. I think the Bucks targeting that game makes the most sense if you're looking for a one-off that could just explode. It's the highest total of the
commies
weekend.
As well.
Which one?
The commies.
Of course, yeah. The reason I was going to say the Bucks over the commies is because we went with the Lions and
you
have a better path of more games. But yeah, that's if we had just gone Chiefs and Eagles, for example, then I was really hoping Saquon fell. We could have pulled off that Chiefs Eagles. You get your running back. I guess we could have done AJ Brown and then pulled that off, but it gets ugly. Like your running back situation, it gets real because I don't have any faith in Pacheco right now. He's looked like garbage. Kareem Hunt, you can sneak in there, but only if you go Bucky Irving, Kareem Hunt, and then David Montgomery. Now you got yourself some juice that could potentially get there.
Yeah, the Pacheco stuff is tough because the narrative is they unleash him in the playoffs, but the problem is he's just looked awful. It's just brutal. So yeah, that's been pretty brutal.
I was gonna suggest Jefferson too, just because again, what we happened last time, we got Aaron Jones, but again, I want to build something different too. You're itching to do something unique. I kind of like the idea of Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, a couple beastly tight ends here.
That works with me. We can also go Kelce and Worthy, and then do a Tim Patrick later. But either's cool with me.
Yeah, there's also the Rams if you wanted to go after that with the Lions, although there's a chance they would meet up.
I think we grab 2 pieces from the bye teams here.
Yeah. This will be a fun one to see. What do you do? How do you get a team through with these pieces? And a couple of years ago, it was the nuts. It was if you could somehow put together a combination of 5 Eagles and Chiefs. They were both 1 seeds. They made it, And it was very, very hard to get that through all the way to the playoffs. But if you did, you had yourself a real good shot at some huge, like, if you had 5 players live in that Super Bowl, I think it was Sacrilegious on the Legendary Upside podcast was talking about this, where all you had to have is any 5 players and you were already in like 10,000 plus money, because it was that hard to get them through. But if you pulled it off, like, it was very rare. So yeah, I think this, obviously we got to figure it out. I do like Kareem Hunt later. I think the last 2. So again, we can only have up to 2 more of them. If it works out perfectly, I do think like Kareem Hunt, Montgomery would be the ideal last 2 I'd add. I still do love Hollywood Brown in these tournaments right now. But getting those running backs would be big to filling out this lineup. Although I guess when you get there though at 5, right, it's just like which 5 are the highest scorers. So maybe it's Hunt and Montgomery, maybe it's Montgomery, Hollywood Brown. I don't know.
I was gonna say Montgomery. What's his ADP at? I haven't drafted on Underdog in a little while.
He's all the way down at 34. And remember, when these things opened, he was going 9, 10.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. And nothing's different other than that he got hurt, but he's going to be back exactly when you expected you were going to get him.
Yeah.
It's sad to see Mike Evans go. That was going to be one I would have liked to build around. I'm kind of hurting as to Mike Evans was kind of my bailout. And then Ladd was going to be my other option, even though they could have met the Chiefs pretty quickly. I don't know.
I mean, we can do something skinny with the Vikings still.
Yeah, we could do
Addison still there.
Yeah, and that's a fun game to target. I could see that one opening up. Or do we just go after the commies and just hope for that?
I'm fine with either.
Because either way, you're a decent chance of running into the Lions regardless, right? So which duo do you think has a higher ceiling? I'm going to take Montgomery here. And then I think we just sacrifice Lamb and go with Terry and then hope Daniels makes it back to us.
Yeah, there's like definitely – yeah, I think that's fine.
Or do you prefer Addison? This is a nice value on him, and we could sneak Darnold.
You just pray for Darnold to come back,
which he would. I think he probably would.
I think we go with the Vikings here. I think we go with the Vikings here.
All right. Yeah, I guess Addison and McLaurin are fairly similar odds, and we'll see how it plays out. If Darnold gets sniped, we can still go Jaden Daniels. You don't need McLaurin to go Daniels.
No.
We're just looking for somebody to get us through, baby.
Someone that's Addison's a good enough in round 1.
Yeah. Because we this is where it is. So you want to tell the story of like getting to the conference championship, but again, like once you get these reinforcements in round 2 and 3, if you somehow make it out of round 1, like you're hopefully cruising. And like Josh Jacobs sitting there at running back, I know like there's no way we're gonna have him get at more than 2 games. But if they pull the upset, they face the Lions, like you get 2 games out of Josh Jacobs. If he falls to us, like it's truly a sacrificial lamb. I don't like making those picks, but it's just hard to see what other paths we have.
We definitely have to lock up Darnold probably with one of our next picks and not play around with that, I would say, and then kind of figure out from there. I wouldn't be shocked if Jacobs doesn't make it back to us. The sacrificial lamb thing is brutal, but I mean, you kind of just need points. There's nothing worse than just you're insta dead in the, like, you can't be, you're just lighting money on fire, quite literally. So,
exactly.
And he goes anyway.
Yeah. in an ideal world, you can do it where it was like, okay, you have Lions and Bucks, and the Bucks could potentially meet them in the championship. When it works out smooth, it's beautiful. Sometimes drafts just don't go that way, and I just don't see a path that we're going to be able to be like, okay, we have the golden rule, 10 live people in our conference championships. I don't see that narrative happening, sadly.
It's hard. It's hard to achieve.
It is, The 4-2-2-2 or the 4-3-3 is typically a good way to do it, but it doesn't always work out that way. So what I was trying to figure out is where did Jefferson go? Okay, so he's with the Goff team. There's a very real chance we don't get Darnold because he's probably going to go right here.
Yeah, probably, unless he's playing for Stroud.
Which he does have Nico Collins. Yeah, there he goes.
So we could do like Jaden Daniels and
Terry.
let's just
Terry Jaden, right?
Yeah,
like
100%.
Because we're going to need points. We're going to need those two to just go bananas. And like Lad's already gone, so we can't do something with Herbert. Really, we can do Herbert, Quentin Johnston, and Quentin Johnston. By the way, good lord, that game over the weekend.
No one wants to. They're trying to block that out from like it's being scrubbed off the internet. No one wants anyone to know about that game. No lowest viewership of the NFL season in Week 18. They are trying to erase that thing from the internet. That is, no one wants you to see that.
Nobody has to know. Yeah,
that was it? Like 14 targets, 13 receptions, and 130 yards.
Something like that. It wasn't even more. It might have been like 180, dude.
No, it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it was in the 130s.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right.
I could be wrong, but either way, no one talking about it. Oh, he also finished with one more receiving yard than Cooper Kupp this season. I saw that today.
What? Oh, yeah. Wow. I did not see that. That's a great stat.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, as this comes back to us, Wolfpack, just one last call for that thumbs up, but also rotostreetjournal.com. I have free playoff rankings. Everything we do is free. We have ads on the site. I know they can be annoying, but it's the way we can make some money and make it actually a worthwhile side hustle. So if you put up with the ads, you got a nice free ranking set. It will kind of show you my playoff bracket, how I see it truly unfolding. There's, again, a strategy article, where and how to play, which has some of these basic tips on terms of team stacking, which teams pair well together. That type of good stuff is all there at rotostreetjournal.com. So in addition to watching us do these drafts, there's plenty of content out there for you to check out. So go again, check that out. I tweeted it out today as well at RotoStreetWolf. But rotostreetjournal.com, again, is that homepage for all of our good stuff. Now, we're going to need a running back. So we're not quite at the 5 limit. I do like Kareem Hunt down here.
Yeah.
But then we're going to need another running back. So I guess we got to look at, like, who do we think? Is it Brian Robinson that puts up the most points out of this group?
Bijan Robinson. He's good for 25 a game.
The fact that he's still like in this list. Oh, Kareem Hunt gets sniped. Absolutely painful on that one.
I do like Brian Robinson. Is Tim Patrick still there?
Yeah, so we could complete that full lineup. Tim Patrick is there.
I think.
Is there any others we'd even consider? Probably not. Or Noah Gray, actually. That's the one I would. You know what? That's the chief. That's the guy that could have.
That could be.
That's who it would be. All righty. I'm going to go.
He's of note.
I'm going to go Brian Robinson. And, well, I want to see what this note is. Just make sure. Minimal action, because he's too important. We're going Noah Gray, baby.
Yeah. You can't debate these crapshoot picks. Just go with who you want. Like, you're praying for a 30-yard touchdown is what you are.
Exactly. I figure at that point too, when you're going to 2 Hail Marys,
exactly,
pick the one that you're already tied to. It limits the bet, makes it so you get, if it's right, it's right. It's real right. I don't know. This could be a fun one. It's
interesting.
Let's see who we're relying on again to pull us through, because we only have 5 players active in round 1, and those are going to be at a lineup of Addison, McLaurin, Jaden Daniels with B-Rob. Oh, wait, did we go overboard? Hold on. This is the cautionary tale.
Did we just draft a bad team? I think we did.
I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we went one over.
All right. That's how you light $25 on fire.
Yep. There you go. The exact thing I warned against. I got too excited about thinking of the Chiefs guy being Noah Gray. So who should we have gone? I guess we can look at real quick. Pickens would have been again, we're just going for like, who's going to move you on? Maybe Cortland Sutton, if he was sitting out there, would have been one of those like could move you on type of guys. Oh, we could have done Zacchaeus to pair. I guess you're really or Ertz to pair with Daniels. Damn, that pisses me off.
That's bad.
Because I actually liked this one too.
Yeah, it was interesting. Now it's not as interesting.
Well, so here's the deal, though. I guess is this one going to make it through? Almost guaranteed, no. However, let's say Daniels throws 3 touchdowns to Terry McLaurin. I've seen it happen where like there's teams that advance that only had like 4 players in their lineup. We've seen Addison put up 30 burgers before.
Yeah, you need an Addison 3 touchdown game to.
Yeah, Addison for 2 or 3, McLaurin for 2 or 3. It's thin.
As thin as it gets.
It's about as thin as it gets. Because if you somehow squeaked it out, the one thing that like this team would then have, if you somehow get that to the Super Bowl too, is like 6 active players. Very few teams are going to have that. Now, Noah Gray might be a 0 anyways in the Super Bowl. It might not matter. But it would be very rare to get 6 active players when you're stacking Chiefs and Lions into a Super Bowl. Almost impossible. We're going to find out if it's possible at all. Probably not.
Well, the people who are smart aren't even doing that. So
exactly. So our idiocy will make us different, and we'll somehow Jake Daniels be a hero, squeak this team on through, and
a couple 30 burgers.
And we're in.
Yeah,
that'd be nuts, actually. Noah Gray, why'd we do that?
For fun.
Yes, for fun, for experimentation. If it makes it through, I'll make sure to tweet that out so everybody knows that we got it through.
That's possible.
Yes. I want to just keep freaking going. I love these. They're so addicting.
I'll do one more.
Let's do a mitten just because it's a little different, so we can talk about that.
Let's do it. So
we'll do a quick $5 mitten because there is a little bit of a difference, and this will kind of help show you guys if you're playing on DraftKings too what to expect. I know the ADP is going to be different. People draft in different ways, but ultimately, this is another example of a only one team advances in round 1. Not the bigger mitten. Where's that? Oh, we could do. What's the little mittens at? This is okay. So if you haven't played on Underdog, by the way, if you're watching this, I'm sure you have. But there are these $3 and $5 tournaments. This is a very accessible one where 2 out of 6 go on, then 1 out of 5, 1 out of 5, and a 248 final. Now the prizes, of course, aren't going to be, 5,000 is the top one, 2,500. Still nice for a $3 return of investment there. And so if you're just trying to get your feet wet, you want to learn it, like that's very accessible. You can get up to $1,000 of bonus cash if you use code RSJ. As you can see in the corner there, the link is also in the description of this too. So if you haven't played yet, consider jumping in there. It's so fun. It's a great way to spice up your playoffs. As you can see here, so this is the difference. 1 out of 6, so only one team making it on. Then you got 1 out of 10. 1 out of 5, though, if you can make it through those first few rounds, you get to the 375, and you'll see the draft prizes for $5. Now you got a shot at 50K, 30K, 20K, 15K. But you do have to draft a team. It's very hard to be that one team that gets out of the round that also correlates well to keep going. So that is where, like, I've seen a lot of people bash, like, you're an idiot if you draft Saquon and Derrick Henry. It's like, okay, I get it. I'm probably not going to have the ideal quarterback with these guys. And I can't have a true Super Bowl with these two teams because Lamar and Jalen Hurts are gone at this point. But okay, let me draft those two. Let me make my bet that the Chargers are actually going to go all the way. And I stack those two up with the Chargers, or Jaden Daniels is going to go on a run and just go bananas, and rookie of the year suddenly is. And now we get to draft from the top, which I'm excited about too.
Finally,
I know that's why we have to do one more to kind of show the top of the draft. So yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people think they're like they have this game 100% figured out, but it's always those weird teams that the year that I had one of my best was the year where the Super Bowl ended up. I think I was telling you right before we went live. It was Bengals and Rams, and nobody had the Rams, and very few people. The Bengals were a fun team, but a lot of people they would have been your fourth best bet of the AFC probably at that point. Well, do you remember what seed they were that year?
They won the division, so they were top 4, and they went into Tennessee in the divisional. So they were definitely the 4 seed.
Yeah, You know what? I should have had more teams with them because that was an easy bet, right? Like Tennessee versus the Bengals at that point.
Oh yeah, Burrow takes 10 sacks and they still win the football game. I mean that's as easy as they come.
That's true. Dude, sorry to your Bengals this year, by the way. Oh, brutal.
They need to fire the owner. They let's figure out a way to be able to fire owners. Do however Washington did it. Get the Browns out of town. Like it's so sorry that our owner being quote unquote poor is what's holding this team back.
What a franchise, right? Exactly.
Unserious team, but it is what it is. This is playoff best ball talk, not Bengals coping talk.
Well,
but it would have been fun.
I know we got to talk playoff best ball, but for both of our franchises, that week one, if you guys just took care of business and beat the Patriots like you should have, you'd be in the playoffs. We'd still have the number one pick.
Exactly.
Both of us got paid instead.
Just brutal.
Meaningless loss, meaningless win, and that's what happens. That's what the NFL is. Like, that's crazy.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Everyone loves the NFL.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
That's why I play fantasy instead.
Yes, exactly.
And then because fantasy, I mean, we do this for the next couple weeks. Well, I guess we draft for the next 5 days, and then we watch, and then the big board's open in like a month. It's gonna be awesome.
Pure distraction.
Exactly. So it never ends with fantasy, but being a fan of a real team, unless you're Patriots or Chiefs, Patriots, I guess 5 years ago, but Patriots or Chiefs, it sucks. So just play fantasy football instead. Get on with your life, get tilted about people sniping your stacks and call people idiots on Twitter, and just have fun with it.
Get fired up for Jalen Naylor in round 9. What's better than that?
Exactly. We live in a world where I want to take Dallas Goedert ahead of Nico Collins in some circumstances.
Oh yeah, most circumstances.
Yeah, it's very fun.
That's what playoff best. That's a great way to put it. Like if you don't understand playoff best ball, just know that Dallas Goedert's more valuable to you than Nico Collins. Most likely.
Exactly. It's so much fun.
So much fun. I do. It is the best. All right, so we are up here now. If I was that guy, I probably would have pushed Jared Goff. And
100%.
So. I mean, A.J. Brown or Jefferson? I think we take our pick of these receivers here.
I like A.J. Brown.
Okay. You like the Eagles better than the Vikings. And we've already done a few Vikings at this point.
I mean, yeah. And, I mean, you can make the argument.
You could get Aaron Jones with Jefferson, which is nice.
That's what I mean, that was going to be my point.
We're going Jefferson.
That's fine with me. Yeah, like the like roster construction and like just getting pieces point, like it definitely favors Jefferson, but like I know at the top of the show I said these people go to crumble, but like the I know ball take, like my pick for the Super Bowl is the Eagles. So so that's like where you have to balance. Like I know I can get more pieces of the Vikings, but I think that the Eagles will go further. So it's an interesting balance, but yeah, I like this play here.
Yeah, just because our running back situation is gonna be so thin if we're going in on the Eagles there. But you're absolutely right, and I do like the Eagles. You think they're gonna win the Super Bowl, huh?
No, I think they're gonna make it to the Super Bowl.
Okay, gotcha. Against?
I think the Ravens will beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So we should have gone. I would have gone A.J. Brown for you then to play out your Super Bowl. So
I've got my own draft to do that.
Yeah. Well. So you'll see how this one plans out with again, kind of classic Ravens, Vikings. It's very common. Eagles one would have been different. So I do regret that a little bit. How could we play that out? So let's say this is A.J. Brown, just for like a teaching point here. This next round, you're looking at, Devonta Smith. Why did Devonta Smith go before A.J. Brown? I don't know.
Well, Merle Pitt knows something we don't know.
Yeah, I maybe. You would have probably gone A.J. Brown, and I'm guessing Mark Andrews here. You would have got yourself Ravens to stack with Lamar. And so my guess is we're probably looking at Mike Evans, Bucky Irving here then to get us a running back and a receiver that isn't facing – but then they face the Eagles potentially next round. Yeah. So then maybe you're looking at the Rams instead, right? You're going Puka and man, that would have been a fun one actually. Come to think about it,
we could have done some interesting things.
And then you still have Gainwell and Justice Hill to like let the Rams kind of like Kyron be your guy for a few weeks, and then you get to the finals with Hill and Gainwell, and you see what happens. That could have been fun.
The commies are always on the board.
Yeah, they're always there too.
They're not going to be playing the Eagles. So yeah, that would have been interesting. But I think we grabbed Zay here.
Do you go Zay over Bateman?
I do, because we're not playing any buys.
So I don't think this guy's going to go Eagles because he had or Ravens. I'd rather have Addison on this one, and then one of those two.
That's fine with me.
And he's not going to take it. So you do like Zay over?
Considering we're having the entire lineup's going to be live in week 1, I do.
Yeah. And you're just hoping that how bad could the sprain be?
Like the hard part is like you're probably not going to really know until tomorrow, but like you got to get these drafts off. I'm fine going either one, but I go Zay.
All right, I'll go Zay.
On a team where you're going like Lions and you're going with the Ravens on the other side for the most part, I'm going Bateman. Just like for the sake of like I need live players in week in week or the wild card round. So it's so brutal that like it's like this is one of the teams that we really want to target, but it's like 4 days before these drafts close and we don't even know if their number 1 receiver is playing or not. Like it's just a nightmare.
It is. It's that's the game we play.
Exactly.
Man, I do wish we went AJ Brown. I'm sorry we didn't.
It doesn't matter.
Just to give us something different, though. We've already done a Ravens. It was the other side of the board, so it's kind of fun to see how it plays out over here. But AJ Brown would have been way different. Puka, when did Puka go? So he was already gone. So we would have probably gone AJ Brown, Andrews, and then we probably could have done the Evans. But again, the Eagles, you don't want to. I don't know. It's tough. Maybe you go Lad McConkey there, actually. You start to get in your little Chargers.
Yeah.
He went 27.
I prefer, like, just with how many Ravens you can get, I prefer just to do the Ravens only on the AFC side. Like, unless, like, the draft gets screwy and it forces your hands. But, like, you can get a handful of Ravens, like, in the middle rounds. So I'm usually comfortable enough that I don't mix in any other AFC teams with the Ravens. Unless, like I said, unless the draft gets a little screwy. But it seems like we could get my good friend Rashad Bateman here. So
you didn't jinx it. Good. I was like, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. He gets through.
Yeah. So do we look to grab Hawkinson here?
Are we just overkilling it at this point? Like, do we want to get another horse from the NFC in there? No, because we have Aaron Jones, so we are really kind of banking on that. I was gonna say McLaurin's intriguing me, but we are going pretty hardcore Vikes here. We're like, I think we just load these two up. Like, this is gonna be like a 6-4 or 5-5, and we're just hoping for.
I think so too.
Yeah, and I'm good with that too. That the Vikings and the Ravens are great teams to do that with.
I would agree. The ADPs are spread out enough that you like don't really have to get that creative, because like there's a lot, like you can argue whether it's optimal to get a third team into the mix, but I mean, like if I can just bet these two teams are going to make the Super Bowl, that's like I'm more than fine getting that, like, because like that's really at the end of the day you want as many pieces, you want to be able to formulate as many lineups as humanly possible in the Super Bowl. And the best way to do that is to have all 10 of your picks from the same two teams. And yes, the path for that roster making it through every single round, it's not great. But if you literally have just two teams in the Super Bowl, you're going to have a really, really good shot of finishing at the top of the leaderboard. So it's tough to get it there. But once you get there, like, if it's Ravens, Vikings, there's not going to be a lot of teams with 10 guys from both teams. So I think if given the opportunity to just fill your roster out with guys from two teams, obviously barring Chiefs or Lions, if given the opportunity, like I think you take it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, 10 guys like on two teams. You're probably the only person, one of the only people to do that. You just hope you have the right ones. Um, an interesting debate here is like, do you just go Darnold at this point?
I don't.
Yeah, because you are banking on him. But look at what else we have available to us. Like we're going Naylor right now. And so we're gonna go Naylor there, I guess. The reason I do consider Darnold here is there is a world, and it's not a very common world, but we get to the Super Bowl, we flip over our cards, and we are loaded on these two teams. You now have the nuts at quarterback. Like there is a world where Darnold does outscore Lamar, probably doesn't. Very slim chance that he does. And like, who else are we adding to our room right now that's giving us Mitchell? Like, do you want to add Courtland Sutton to kind of push us through? Like, I don't know.
Adding a running back ahead of Darnold is a bigger thing for me, like a Brian Robinson Jr.
Well, the other thing too, though. Okay, so let's say the Chiefs. We got the Ravens, and we're never winning the whole thing if it's not Ravens and Vikings here. But I was going to play the card of like, okay, the Ravens carry us to the championship week. They get knocked out, but the Vikings make the Super Bowl. We're still live, which we would be. I mean, a Darnold, Jones, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Naylor, like, we'd make some money. That'd be a live lineup for sure.
100%.
But like, what is B-Rob really doing for us here? Like,
it's just brutal. You're just riding Jones the whole way.
I like adding Keaton Mitchell here. Justice Hill already went. But talk about a guy that could just pop a big one and like gets 3 plays, but he rips a screen. Like, no one's gonna have him either. I don't know.
It really just comes back to like I think there's pros and cons to both, and it's really hard to say which one is right or wrong. Like if you take Mitchell, you're just so thinly like riding Aaron Jones to fill your running back slot every single week up until the Super Bowl. So yeah, I'll let you make the call here. I'll let you make the call here.
I'm gonna go Mitchell.
Yeah, it's fine with me. Like I understand both sides. Like you can't say either one is wrong. It's just we were both on the same page here. Like both.
Okay. This is like the Juwan Jennings debate, right? So that's how I look at that one is, all right, let's say Brian Robinson probably in week 1 certainly projects better than Keaton Mitchell. There's no doubt about that. But let's say, hold on, let me pull that team back up. That's not the one. Hold on. It'll reload in a second. But what I was going to get at is, okay, Brian Robinson scores 8 points, runs for 60 yards, catches a ball for 10, and doesn't score a touchdown, and they lose. 8 points probably don't even make our lineup in the first week. And ideally, Aaron Jones is scoring at least 10. And so we had a dead spot that didn't even make our lineup versus, okay, maybe the Ravens do go all the way, and everyone's banking on Aguilar as like your last piece that could be that touchdown maker. And then it's Keaton Mitchell. He rips like a kickoff return for, 100 yards or whatever it might be. I don't know why the draft's not showing up, sadly. That's kind of more so it's like if Robinson smashes for 2 touchdowns in the first week of the playoffs, I'm like, damn, okay, that would have been nice. He could. But there's the way he's looked lately. Like, he hasn't looked great. Eckler's now back. I think they're just going to be chucking it, airing it out all game. So I don't know. I'd rather just play that. Let me get one last Hail Mary card that could flip over in the finals that nobody's gonna have Keaton freaking Mitchell. And he's an RSJ boy too. He was like our views magnet last year.
He was.
So we got to give him a reward and have him join our multi-million-dollar winning team.
And like I said, I see the advantages of both sides. Like, you're just looking for another out at running back for hopefully 2 weeks with Brian Robinson. But
I see that.
Yeah, and then with Mitchell, you're just hoping he's just one of those pieces you need in the Super Bowl. So yeah, it's there's no right or wrong answer here, and like there's so many ways you can go about it. It's always tough essentially riding one running back through 3 rounds, and that's just really. I mean, I don't really need to explain this any further.
One with injury concerns, nonetheless. Too. One that rarely lasts.
Yeah.
For a future workload. But hey, last year playoffs, he would have been Aaron Jones would have crushed it. But not a lot of comments or questions, but we did have a special guest here, Mr. James O'Hare. Good to see Papa O'Hare over there. The two best. I love it. Listen up. These are my main men. I love it. Today you have learned. Hey, hopefully we did help you guys learn. Thank you, James, for commenting in. Thank you, everybody else. We got up to 300 on a random, stream here for Best Ball. Love to see it. On your way out, if you hit that thumbs up button, the heart button, wherever you're watching from, would be so greatly appreciated. Of course, all the content is at rotostreetjournal.com. You have my rankings, the where and how to play, the strategy, all that good stuff. Hopefully, we'll see you guys in the Best Ball streets. And if you haven't played, you can see it there in the corner. Use code RSJ or the link in the description. Helps your boy get a little kickback, and you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully, you found this helpful. If you jump in these streets, I'm telling you, so many people just don't know the basics of playing for the Super Bowl, of how to stack these teams. It's getting better. The earlier years, it was just a free-for-all. You can definitely see in these drafts, people are knowing what they're doing, but there's still plenty, especially on DraftKings. That's just – I don't even do it, though, Mo. I don't know if you've done any of them.
Yeah, I have.
You think you're getting a beautiful setup, and then just all these one-off snipes that just make zero sense. I don't know. I can't do it. Like, have you found yourself getting some good teams over there?
Yeah, you're able to get more pieces of the higher-end teams.
Yeah.
Just because, like, the Nico Collins of the world, they're just more inclined to just grab them, and just like those high-end talents but low-end teams, people are just more inclined to grab. So yeah, you can do some fun things. I've seen people online posting full-on Hurts, Saquon, AJ Brown teams, and I'm like, I need to get in these lobbies. So I'm still hunting for that, but definitely possible to put together some juggernauts over on DraftKings. So hopefully luck shakes my way, and I can put together one of the super squads. But yeah, I'll definitely be still grinding some drafts on both sites. It's been a little bit of a break, but them opening up some of those smaller contests will definitely have me back over on Underdog before the playoffs come around.
Awesome, man. Good stuff. Anything you want to pump, whether Roto Street or anything else related, before we pop out of here?
Yeah, having some fun over on the Roto Street Instagram. So go check us out on social media. Always some fun stuff there. And you failed to mention the most exciting piece of content we have on the site. The 2025 rankings are already out. You can't even mock draft anywhere. So I've just been doing them by hand, pretending with my notepad and pen, doing mock drafts for 2025 already. So we've already got those, or you've already got those up and rolling.
I've already updated them twice.
I know. Since Christmas Eve?
No, that was my last one. I'll probably dive back in, though, after the playoffs. Okay. But, yeah, I do the one thing I got to get CJ on it, too. He's great with the rookie stuff, and I'd love to get his rookie takes, because we are going to have the Best Ball. Like you said, the big board's coming. It's only a couple of weeks away at this point, and I need to study up on my rookies. I know it's like a deep running back class. I know who the studs are. But I need to start getting deeper into the weeds and figuring out who are the Bucky Irvings, who are the that really helped me out last year. I did really well in the big board last year, so that'll be coming soon, guys. Keep your eyes peeled. I'll still be active. I go in a little bit of a hibernation as we're settling the house, and some other news will break soon enough. But keep posted at Roto Street Wolf. I'll keep tweeting out my thoughts as things are going. Any new content that we're doing as well. And yeah, love it. Love always firing them up with you, Mo. Can't wait to get the big board going again. And check out rotostreetjournal.com for all your content, your fantasy football needs in a world full of fantasy sheep, guys. Be the wolf. Later.